Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to The Deal with D and J. I'm your co-host, Jacob Pearl. Alongside me, I got the wonderful DJ McCatherine. New backdrop tonight, DJ. Where are we at?
We're at my parents' house. The light that I'm normally on when I'm here comes from the sun, and it is currently down. So, um, I have to change a little bit of switch positions here. So I
Confirm.
normally get the natural sunlight from the window, and I set up by the window, but we're dark, so I'm sitting bedside on a stool, on a little stool.
Confirmed the sun is down thanks to DJ's wonderful weather skills over there. We got alongside us a special guest tonight. Me and DJ have known him for a long time. This is repping an OG UNF Coach Driscoll Let's Go t-shirt. He knows what's up.
Always.
We love having you on. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Glad to be here, fellas.
Well, I guess before we jump into NBA playoffs and talk about the craziness that has become the NBA second round, quick little kind of thing happened today in the NFL. George Pickens got traded from Pittsburgh to the Dallas Cowboys. So CeeDee Lamb gets a running mate now down in Dallas, an extra weapon. And then Pittsburgh got, I believe, a third and a fifth for him. I believe a 26th third and a 27th fifth. They got that out of it. And now it's really only Metcalf in that wide receiver room. Kind of good because if we got to training camp in July, we were going to see probably like fist fights, and it wasn't going to be between other teams. It was going to be between Metcalf and George Pickens, the both of them fighting each other because they're both a little bit of divas. Kind of want to get both your opinions immediately. What does this do for the Cowboys in the sense of CeeDee Lamb now has a true running mate? And the biggest thing is that deep vertical threat that really opened up CeeDee. So what do you guys see for the Cowboys kind of in the short-term, long-term of this trade? DJ, I'll let you start.
We've seen the Cowboys with a good-looking wide receiver room, right? I don't know how this really benefits them. Pickens is a great wide receiver. I think he adds, a sure hands. When you're throwing him the ball, he can go up and get it. He's a tough wide receiver too. If you have two hands on the ball, putting my money on him to come away, or two people going for the ball, I'm putting my money on him to take it away, right, and come down with that ball. But as far as a, benefit, like, I don't know, I feel like it was only 3-4 years. There was Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, and I'm forgetting the other guy's name at the moment.
I know who you're talking about, though.
Yeah, and they didn't do anything. It didn't really benefit them. Their offense was good, right? But it didn't elevate them past what they've been at their best, for the last 30 years. So I don't know how this really benefits the Steelers too. I mean, their draft were two defensive and two offensive players, a running back, a quarterback, and two defensive line people in Derek Harmon and Jack Sawyer. So what are their offensive additions? Are there going to be offensive additions that come in free agency? And so it's just question marks really on both sides. But I know you didn't ask about the Steelers yet, so sorry I jumped that gun.
No, we can touch upon both. It's not a big deal. Talk about a little bit for the Cowboys, what you see with this trade with George Pickens here, and then if you want to, you can touch upon the Steelers.
For the Cowboys, I can say I agree with DJ. They're definitely getting a dog out of George Pickens, great wide receiver. The only problem I see with it, I don't see much benefit to the Cowboys offense, only because we've seen in the past that CeeDee Lamb demands the ball. And from the past, it looks like George Pickens is upset when he doesn't get the ball. So it just was a confusing trade to me because I don't see how it elevates the Cowboys offense when you got a superstar wide receiver one in CeeDee Lamb. And last year, you already had so many wide receiver twos. You could swap, who was that, Jennings and Cook.
Tolbert was, Cooks. Brandon Cooks was another one.
Hooks.
Yep. So you already had a numerous amount of
They
wide
tried
receiver twos.
Robert Woods for like 30 seconds and realized that wasn't what I think. I don't want to cut you off here, but I think I think for the Cowboys, it's a big sense of okay, we need somebody to take the pressure off CD to get the offense to open up. But is George Pickens really that big of a threat? I believe it was Theo Ash broke down that George Pickens last season had the most like deep threat yards of like, I think passes caught over 20 yards, and it was like over 600 yards caught, which is great. But also he was primarily wide receiver 1 in that offense. Now he's going to be a wide receiver 2. And we all know CD's going to have a game where he's going to have like 15 targets, 10 catches, 160 yards, and a touchdown. He's going to be your worst nightmare that week in fantasy. And George Pickens is going to have to live with his 5 targets and 3 catches for 60. And, like, I don't know if George Pickens is the right guy for that offense, like we said, to be that wide receiver 2, when I think you could have gotten a really good wide receiver 2 in this past draft class as well. So yeah. I think that's also the more surprising thing. Like, you didn't take the wide receiver in the draft, but you're supplementing it with George Pickens, and is that really the route that you want to go down as a team? And you also don't have a running back either, right? The number 1 running back right now is Javonte Williams, and potentially Jaden Blue, who they drafted, could be a dark horse to take the starting job too. But I don't know. I find it perplexing. I don't find it beneficial. But I think for the Steelers, I think this is equally not as beneficial either. You don't have a quarterback, first off. And then now, because you don't have a quarterback, now we're going to take away one of the weapons that he's going to have. And now your wide receiver 2 is Roman Wilson from Michigan, who you spent, what, a 3rd, 4th rounder on last year? I believe is their current wide receiver 2. Or is Calvin Austin the 3rd, I think might be it too. And like, we're going to trust Pat Freiermuth to maybe become that Travis Kelce type of player. But like, we've been waiting for that, and that's never happened. So like, I think for Pittsburgh, it's just, I think we talked about it earlier in, I think, February, DJ, but we both agreed that Pittsburgh has no idea what they're doing. And this continues to cement what they don't know what they're doing. You don't have a quarterback. The thing you need to do is set your quarterback up for success, and then you take away one of his weapons.
Yeah, I think, I wanted to add to the Cowboys' point. The only thing I could see this being beneficial for them is I could see where Pickens plays kind of this Gabe Davis role as he was on the Bills, right? Where Stephon Diggs was your obvious number 1, and then you have these games where Gabe Davis would pop off for 180 yards. Maybe it was an important game, maybe it wasn't, maybe it was a game that Diggs was having an off day, but that's where I can kind of see that being beneficial for the Cowboys. And we all thought that if Gabe Davis was put in a 1 role, or at least I did, that he could kind of play that role, but that never came to fruition, especially with his time in Jacksonville. But again, to your point with the Steelers, yeah, as it looks like right now, Will Howard's going to be your QB1, coming from who else? Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, I think Mason Rudolph is the projected QB1 right now.
Maybe
which again isn't great. I'm not gonna sit here and say that's like, gosh, I can't wait to watch Mason Rudolph on Sundays. Like,
I think he's inevitably going to be the starter. I think Rudolph is gonna take the first few games. Unless they pick somebody up, but even that, at least Rudolph is known for having that one wide receiver, right? Nothing really changes for him except for who's out there catching the ball. But I think if you were going to try to put these younger guys into a situation, that was not the best move, especially if you were actually looking at Will Howard to step into that role. Now you're taking somebody who's always been surrounded, or at least in his last year was surrounded by these great receivers, and you pilfered one away.
Yeah, again, I think Pittsburgh, again, has no idea what they're doing. Discourse, I guess, would you rather have Mason Rudolph or Will Howard to be your starting quarterback week 1 if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers? I think I'd rather eat glass.
Who do they play week 1? Who's week 1 for Pittsburgh?
The schedule comes out next week.
Oh, okay.
But as of right now, Pittsburgh fans, they they're going to be sad. They're going to be sad on Sundays. I guess with that, let's jump into some NBA playoffs here. Starting with Cavs Pacers. Pacers 2-2. Tyrese Halliburton. What the Halliburton is going on in Indy? Again, I don't really know where to kind of start here. I mean, Cleveland had both games kind of in hand, especially game one. Actually, game one, they got kind of not blown up, but game two, they kind of had it in the last minute. They were up 7, and then you look back and the game's over and they lost. So, I mean, I want DJ to have the floor to talk about this series before I jump into it and Reed jumps into it, but Cleveland down 2-0. You lose 2 at home.
Yeah, I mean,
and Donovan Mitchell doesn't elevate himself into superstardom.
I think that's a bogus take, and I think, the only difference is LeBron had already cemented himself, but nobody looked at LeBron's 51 points against Golden State in game 1 of the finals and was like, oh, he needs to do more, right? Homie had 3 players out: Mobley, Hunter, and Garland, all out for this game. You could say what you want about them, but to say that Donovan Mitchell didn't elevate when his team needed to the most is absolutely absurd take. Absolutely absurd. Disagree. 0 out of 10. Eat chalk. But for this series, I'm dumbfounded. I will never understand how these teams do make the comebacks that they do. I don't know. I mean, game 1, it was a little disappointing to see how everything kind of started off for Cleveland, especially at home, but stuff happens. Game 2, I mean, you're up 20, your star player's giving you the points that you need to win. If any game makes sense to come back from, it is game 2, given that they had 3 starters out. But that still is no excuse as to the fact that they actually did it. It's sad to see. I would hate for Cleveland's remarkable season to end in a 5-1, 4-0, 4-1, 4-0, playoff series, and injuries is what cut them short last year. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Donovan Mitchell was injured in last year's playoffs, and it hurt them. But shout out to Tyrese Halliburton, stepping up with a timeout. Or I don't know how you don't box out like in such a close game. I don't get it. I mean, again, Evan Mobley would have been on that block, and maybe that would have helped. But it's sad to see, man. I'm upset. I am upset. I had the luxury of not being able to watch that game live, but I did have the disadvantage of opening my phone and that being the only thing I saw for the first 20 posts. So,
including
that
me.
was fun.
Ree, what do you?
Well, I'm offended because I'm a huge Donovan Mitchell fan. So I agree with DJ to say there was more he could do.
No. So last episode,
Yeah.
I didn't think Donovan Mitchell's a superstar. Again, he's getting there. But to me at the time, Donovan Mitchell's career, he's never been able to get out of the second round. And to me, to elevate yourself into that level, you got to get to at least a conference finals. And he hasn't been there. And like that to me is just perennial. You're great, right? But you're never great enough to get over the hump. Like, I think he can elevate his teams to be better. And to DJ's point, what more can I ask him to do in game 2? 48 points, 17 to 21 from the free throw line, 15 to 30 from the field, right? 9 assists even, right? But again, I think that's a superstar level performance. Same with his 33 points on game 1. But if he gets bounced in round 2 again, Tyrese Halliburton, who's been claimed to be overrated, just hit not only one game winner in round 1 to eliminate the Milwaukee Bucks, but now has hit another game winner to steal 2 games on the road in Cleveland with a step back 3-pointer in somebody's face. So, like, again, my take was, and it's the Brunson also. I also said Brunson's a star and not a superstar, and that's also aging poorly. So, like, I understand where I'm at, but I'm also going to die on my sword and die on my take. And if it means these guys drop 30-plus points and hit game winners, then, like, we benefit as fans. But, like, Donovan Mitchell drops 48, 9 assists, and you blew a 7-point lead with a minute left in the game. Not saying he has to score 50 to win the game, but that's,
But he has to
again,
score 50 and win the game in order for him to get up the hump.
potentially, yeah.
It's all about advancing. I understand.
I think it's like
the semi-conference part.
I think it's a Tatum argument. I think that's kind of what Donovan Mitchell gets a little bit here. Is like everyone's like Tatum's not a superstar, and it's like okay, but then we just watched Tatum dominate for how many years now so consistently. Well, he's never made it to the NBA Finals. Okay, then he makes the NBA Finals against Golden State. Well, he never won an NBA Finals. Well, now he won an NBA Finals, was the most consistent player in that Finals, and still people don't want to give him his flowers. So again, it's
insane.
It is, but it's in the eye of the beholder sometimes, and the ESPN media and whatever they want to do to skew it. But again, Donovan Mitchell's getting there. He's elevating himself like he's supposed to, but you got to get 50 and win the game, brother.
I just think that to pin the downfall or the lack of moving on one player and to not elevate them to the next chapter because of a team responsibility when it is obvious. Like if you were to tell me he wasn't a superstar and he's dropping 23 points, 8 rebounds and 4 assists, like I get that, right? But homie, because he didn't get to the next round, those other years, he's playing LeBron. He's literally playing LeBron.
In the West?
No. Because Donovan Mitchell was injured, I think, the last 2 years of the play. Or I don't think Cleveland made it the year before. They made it, and he was injured, and this is his first full year.
Listen, I got his playoff stuff up here right now.
Okay.
Got it up right
here. What years did he go?
Has Donovan Mitchell not been every year he's been in the league?
No, because Utah was bad for a little bit. So, like, first time they went was 2018, and they got to round 2, and they lost in 5 to Houston. The following year, they lost
Utah. I'm thinking of Indianapolis. Who am I thinking of? Am I thinking of Paul George? Oh, my gosh.
Maybe.
You're thinking about Paul George, buddy. Yeah.
2019, again, plays Houston, loses in 5. 2020, they lose to Denver in 7. 2021, they sweep Memphis and then lose in 6 to the Clippers. 2022, they play Dallas and lose in 6. 2023, they lose to the Knicks in 5. 2024, they beat Orlando in 7 and then lose to Boston in 5, but he was injured for 2 of those games, it seems, from this game log I'm looking at.
Yeah.
And then this year, sweeps Miami, and then they've lost 2 to Indy. So he's now, like, again, great player.
He joined
Is he like, again, I love that he's dropping.
What are his stats in that? What are those stats in that line? Is he pulling his weight and then some?
Wait, when was he? He was drafted 2017 or 2016? 2016 NBA draft.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
Hold on. I'll read the point logs. Give me a second.
Like, again, if he's dropping 20 points, that's doing your part, right? That
in a series when they beat OKC in a series win, he went 27, 28, 22, 33, 23, 38. Okay, and when he lost to Houston, it was 21, 17, 10, 25, 24. When he lost to Houston, 19, 11, 34, 31, 12. Okay. When they went to war against Denver in 7, he had 57 and a loss in overtime, 30, 20, 51, 30, 44, 22. Bro went crazy in 2020. What?
That was that Bubbles playoffs.
That was like the bubble years. When he swept Memphis, 25, 29, 30, 30. Again,
that's
when
doing your part.
I'm saying all these numbers, and I'm just looking like the biggest idiot, but I'm going to die on this take. 45, 37, 30, 37, 21, 39. And they lost in 6. Dallas, when they lost in 6, 32, 34, 32, 23, 9, 23. First year with Cleveland, 38, 17, 22, 11, 28.
Mm.
7-game series with Orlando, 30, 23, 13, 18, 28, 50, 39, 33, 29, 33, 30, 30, 13, 22, 33, 48. Bro can't get out of the second round. That's all I'm going to die on.
I didn't take a look at the injuries that who's that, Garland, Mobley, and
And Hunter. So
Hunter
Hunter's their
sustained,
number one
but
defensive person. Mobley
yeah,
is a big person on the block. They normally run two bigs, right? And then they
And Hunter gives them like 16 off the bench.
yeah.
yeah,
So
he's a 3-and-D. He's their 3-and-D.
again, it makes sense that they lost this game, but I don't know how you build up such a good lead and then let it fall. And like I don't get it. I don't even know why Mobley was out.
Yeah,
It
so I
was
don't know their injuries.
Also,
it's just
what's the Shaq line? Apologies, Donovan Mitchell. I wasn't familiar with your game like that.
Donovan Mitchell's like that, my boy. Don't get
Listen,
it twisted.
I never said he wasn't disgusting. Again, you get bounced in the second round. I don't know what. You're not very memorable to me. Maybe it's because I'm a casual, but who knows? I feel like I like to know enough ball to hold my own, but
Well, that's why you're only thinking, Jacob. That's why you're not sure of it.
I'm positive. I think I kind of want to talk about the Pacers here, though, because the Pacers, I think, is the epitome, is anti-NBA, if you really think about it. Like, we're in this era of superstars. We got, like, everybody's got to play with somebody else who's great. But I think what we're learning kind of in the last couple series here is that you got to build a team up from ground up, right? You got to have a team. You got to have depth, right? And like we said, 3 of Cleveland's most important pieces were out. So your depth is hurt there, right? But the Pacers, dude, they'll roll 10, 11 deep. Like, in this last game, they ran 6, 7, 8, 9. They ran 11 dudes off the bench, right? Benedict Mathurin had 19 points off the bench for them.
I was just
Obi
saying.
Toppin with 7. But then everybody in the starting 5 gives you meaningful points. Nembhard, 13. Halliburton, 19. Turner and Naismith, 23. And Siakam gives you 12, right? But it's just the culmination of what they can do and the pace that they push with is just giving Cleveland so many fits. And it's not just Donovan Mitchell having to put the team on his back and try and win this game, which he should, like, we should be talking about Donovan Mitchell and that heroic effort that he has. And instead, we're talking about Tyrese Halliburton with the team point performance. So
That's the exact point I was going to make, is that, like, we're talking about Halliburton, but dare I say we're the first to talk about the rest of this team that's giving Indiana the boost of a lifetime here. Like, Halliburton hasn't even led his team in either of these 2 games in points, right? It's unheard of, I think, in looking at a stat line and one seeing all these people play in a playoff game, but even more so than that, be as productive as they have been. I mean, back-to-back games where everybody in your starting lineup gives you double figures, and then another person in addition off the bench in double figures.
DJ and Ree, give me your opinions here. If you're Cleveland, is Game 3 a must-win or a can't lose? Is it a must-win or a can't lose?
Yes.
Can't lose.
Can't lose. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it's a can't lose game.
I mean, I think it really depends on the health of everybody, right? They need to win the game. They can't lose the game. If they're down 3-0, as of any team, arguably ever, this Cleveland team went on 2 16 game win streaks, right? Like 3-0. I mean, 3-0 is a death wish, but this is a team that can come back from
2-0.
the lead that they're the 2-0. Like, I don't know that I would trust having to go 4 straight games, as no team has, I believe, ever done that. But like, Cleveland's not out of this series by any means. I mean, it is going to be tough, right? And dropping even 1 game in Indianapolis would. Are they in Indianapolis? They are in Indianapolis, right? Yeah.
Indy for the next 2.
Would be detrimental, but I don't know. It's going to be tough. This is not going to be fun times in Cleveland if they get swept here. But yes,
Go ahead.
I think when you're away, when you're that away team returning home, that's when it becomes those must-win games. But it's definitely a can't lose once you gave up those 2 at home. Then you start getting that feeling like we can't lose these 2 away. We already gave up our 2 at home. We already gave up our ability to use our home court advantage. So once you lose that, you're at that we can't lose.
Moving on, let's talk about the other East series. The Knicks are up 2-0 on the reigning Boston Celtics here. And I literally just saw this game end.
Hold on. What did you say, Jacob? Boston in 4? Boston in 4? Boston in 5? You said maybe 5.
No, I said Boston in 5.
I may need to go check some receipts.
You can. You posted it. I said Boston in 5, and you said I was crazy, and I said I don't think I am. Boston lost these 2 games here. Like, I think every Boston fan knows that they lost these games, and every Knicks fan goes, "Oh my God, we just got so lucky. We stole 2 in Boston." Like, I think that's how everyone's looking at it. I mean, we're hearing in the streets the bing bongs and call Yamadas and them rating MSG. But like, if you're a Boston fan, you're sitting here at these games going, we blew those. They had a 20-point lead, I think, in both games, and they blew both of them. And last night in game 1, you can point at they missed 45 3-pointers. Okay, that looks bad because they lost. But if they won the game, we're not talking about 45 missed 3-pointers, the most in NBA history in a playoff game, right? Versus tonight was an embarrassment of the Boston Celtics, because not only did you not score for roughly 6 minutes of game time until a Tatum dunk in the waning minutes of the game, then you gave up a 24-4 run to end the game, right? Not to mention Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, when we thought they figured out who's getting the ball when, they haven't figured it out, because Jaylen Brown took one of the worst shots I've ever seen at the end of this game, trying to foul bait Jalen Brunson, who's a really solid defender, right? And then we're looking at this team, and we're sitting, and then Tatum has an open dunk. Brunson baits Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday has no choice but to foul. Brunson makes both his free throws. And then Tatum, with about 12 seconds left, Joe Mazzulla has a timeout. And I'm all for, hey, let's go get a quick one, catch the defense off guard. But when the defense figures out that Tatum's the guy shooting the ball and they hone in, call a timeout with about 6-7 seconds left. That gives you enough time to set something up and run it, or at least get a clean look from somebody else. And instead, Tatum drives to the baseline where 3 Knicks players crash on him, and Mikal Bridges gets another defensive stop to end the game. And Joe Mazzulla walks back to the tunnel with a timeout in his pocket. I'm going to get on my soapbox here and I'll let you guys talk, but I'm so sick and tired of coaches not calling the timeout when you have the timeout. That's why it's there, to set something up, to get the best look that you can possibly can. And coaches now are like, well, we don't want to give them a chance to set up. I do not care. I do not care if it gives them a chance to set up. Called the timeout. Mazzulla had 2 timeouts and chose not to call any of them when Brunson and the Knicks went on a 24-2 run. I think Boston right now is literally meeting the worst possible team to play. And what's crazy is the Knicks are literally built to beat Boston. Their center. Last year they rolled out freaking Mitchell Robinson as their starting 5. And in their starting 5, and now they have Cat, who's a big improvement, especially on the offensive side. Right? And then you get Mikal Bridges, the Iron Horse, plays every game. Defensive, like mainstay in your lineup. OG can give you buckets. He's great defensively at times as well. And then Jalen Brunson is statistically the most clutch player this season. And then you got Josh Hart doing Josh Hart things, setting, screens.
Sorry, go ahead.
And yet Boston's down 0-2 going to New York. Like, Boston should be, this last game, Joe Mazzulla should be embarrassed of himself, because that was a terrible coaching decision to not call that timeout at the end of the game.
I'm sitting here and watching the last play. I mean, Jalen Brown staying on that wing as Tatum's trying to go that direction. I mean, he's got a clear view of his defender on there too. He's staring right at the back of his head watching Jason Tatum as he starts his drive. And as soon as he, takes his efforts into that, I don't know, what do you call that area? Like on that drive or closer
The
to
baseline.
baseline,
Yeah, to
you
the
know,
baseline.
Jalen needs to get out, right? He needs to be out there early. And he waited so long and waited until Tatum was arguably trying to take his jump shot and then inevitably bail out of his shot before he decides to move. And at that point, he's surrounded. I understand your timeout take, right? And I definitely agree with you, especially they don't need a 3-pointer, right? Like I think no matter what, if you need 3 points, and you can get a fast break down there, like obviously you're taking the 3-point shot, and Knicks would probably foul at that point anyways. But when all you need is one bucket and you don't draw up a play to get somebody relatively open when you have multiple sources, you want to take the three to try to win the game like that, that's fine if that option's there. You need to drive towards the basket, another thing. You have somebody who's clutch in the mid-range, like Tatum and even Brown, heck yeah. You have options there. But the fact that they were down, they only needed one shot and they didn't decide to draw anything up is beyond me. I'm very surprised. And I think Jalen Brown is kind of to blame a little bit for the congestion over there in the corner, like basketball IQ. And again, I'm looking at it, post, hindsight 2020, but they are
again,
both experienced players.
But Boston's superstars also haven't shown up either. Tatum had 13 points in this game. Jaylen Brown had 20, right? Versus the Knicks, Jalen Brunson had 17, not his best performance, but Josh Hart and Karl-Anthony Towns had 20 plus. With Mikal Bridges with 14. Kristaps Porzingis has been a no-show this round. He's been nothing. And then, again, I think they're missing a little bit of Sam Hauser in that three-point threat. But Peyton Pritchard giving you 9 is okay. But Luke Kornet, I think Boston's confused. I think Kristaps not pulling his weight right now, I think is really hurting this team. And I also just think that Joe Mazzulla is just not getting, I think he's really not doing too well coaching-wise. I think he's...
Boston's kind of lived, I'm sorry, I'm going to cut you off real quick, Reed, before you start there. But Boston has lived with their roster being able to give them points that their stars can't. I mean, if you're even looking at the last year's NBA Finals, right? I mean, Tatum only pulled 22 points per game. I mean, that's a little skewed as I don't have every single game lined up right here, but I have his averages. Like, even then, that's still arguably not superstar type of statistics, funny enough. And then Jaylen Brown, 20 points per game. Drew Holiday, 14 points per game in that series. But like if you're getting the drift here, Derek White had 13 points per game. Porzingis, 12 points per game in that series. And that consistency throughout the series is what Boston has been able to do, is they can turn to anybody to win them games. And at some point when the game is on the line, you need your superstar to show up, and that hasn't happened for Boston.
I just feel like Joe got to make better decisions. I definitely think something should be drawn up for either maybe Derek White. I don't know if at that point in the game they're already losing their lead. They're already on the bad side of a run by the Knicks. I would definitely take the ball out of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown's hands, because they're your two main scorers and they're not pulling, their weight down that stretch. I would definitely be looking to draw something up for either Derek White, maybe even something to Porzingis to catch them off guard. What's his name? Al Horford. Always got something magic in the bag for Al Horford somehow. I've seen a lot of plays drawn up for him to keep the game going, maybe even dragging it to overtime. But the Celtics are just doing Celtics things. I feel like we've seen this a little bit last year in the playoffs where they were blowing some leads, but they always found a way to win the series. Of course, won the championship. I definitely wouldn't count them out. I think they can pull some off in Madison Square Garden, but it'll definitely be tough. This is a good Knicks team. Like you said, they've definitely built Yeah, I'm not gonna say the Monstars, but the Monstars version for the Celtics. Like they've definitely built that team that they need to beat the Celtics.
They built the antithesis with the Nova Knicks.
Yes.
Like it's just Mikal Bridges can answer defensively and match up against Brown and Tatum. Same with OG. Now you get help on two of their stars. Cat's gonna shut down Horford and maybe Porzingis. Porzingis I think kind of like can get going on Cat, but offensively, Cat is what they needed because Mitchell Robinson wasn't going to give them what they needed offensively. And then Josh Hart, again, is kind of like an unsung hero where he led the team in points tonight. And we don't really think of him as a go-to guy here. And then Brunson, when they need a shot, Brunson makes it, dude. He had this nice little this shot on the elbow, bumped off Holiday and just elevated and to take the lead. And if you're Boston, you're going, what are we supposed to do there? I think the first answer is, how about you don't blow a 20-point lead? Second option is play better defense, but Drew Holiday is the best defensive player in the league. And at that point, it's just barbecue chicken.
I want to point out something that Reese said real quick that I think really needs to stand out, and I hope the Knicks aren't getting themselves too out far in front for, is though this is going back home for the Knicks, I don't know a place in any sports venue that is so iconic but doesn't really give the opponents a disadvantage. Like, I don't think Boston going into Knicks is like enemy territory like it is the Knicks going into the Garden. Does that make sense? Like, I think this is the place where easily the Knicks can crumble and they can take a 2-0 lead and they can go back to Boston being 2-2. I think it is very possible, and I think that can happen in any series. I feel like it's just the Knicks' MO to where home field advantage really isn't home field advantage for them.
Yeah, I think we'll find out for sure. We'll find out.
I didn't hit as hard as I thought it was, or I was hoping it would.
No,
I see what you're saying. It's just, it's tough when I think in the NBA, home court really does not matter. Honestly, I genuinely think home court doesn't matter. I think it's more of a disadvantage than an advantage. Like, I will say there's times where a home crowd can really be on your side, right? Like, I attribute it to what game was it? Game 1 against the Mavericks in the NBA Finals last year, where Porzingis had 13 straight points, and the whole arena was bananas. Like, I think that can work in your favor, but I think if you're a home team, like there's this extra pressure of like you got to get one in front of your home fans, but then you could also feel a crowd get restless when you don't make shots. And I think Boston and New York are the two worst places to not make your shots if you're the home team, because the fans in Boston, I low-key heard some boos being rained down. It wasn't loud, but I heard some. And in New York, if they get blown out by 30 in Game 3, there's boos being rained down. Everyone's saying it's the worst team they've ever seen. Like, I think those two fan bases, like, while they're great sports towns, are also, like, the harshest critics you've ever seen. Like, it's them, New York, and Philadelphia are all just, like, the Eagle, like, their team could be the best team in the league, and they're not good enough. They're actually the worst team I've ever seen in my, 40 years of living, with some John freaking walking down with his $2 slice of pizza. Jumping into the Western Conference here to get back on our regularly scheduled programming. As we speak, we're recording this Wednesday night, so Nuggets Thunder are going on, and the Thunder are up 33 points in the second quarter. It is currently 76-43. But let's talk about Game 1, where again, another blown lead, kind of fitting for what we're talking about here tonight. They blew another lead. The Nuggets stormed back on an Aaron Gordon buzzer beater, and Nuggets are up 1-0 in the series. They won Game 1, 121-119, behind Jokic's 42 points, 22 rebounds in that performance. And I mean, let's just kind of break it down here. What what did we see, and what is this kind of an indictment of as we speak? The Thunder currently have a 30-point lead on the Nuggets.
I mean, I highlighted it in our TikTok. I mean, rebounding was huge in that first game. Like, OKC's got some size to them, right? They've got some length, right? When I think of size, I'm thinking like tall, built, right? And that's what the Nuggets are with Aaron Gordon, Jokic. And when you look at OKC, you see Chet Holmgren, who is, Slender Man out there. Shea Gilgeous has some good size on him, but he's not out there getting rebounds like that all the time. But I do believe he did lead his team in that particular game in rebounds. So when you get down to the post and you're trying to battle out these rebounds, Denver's got a huge advantage, and I think that was the most pertinent thing that I saw. I mean, 63-43, I believe, was the stat line in over there, and then for the Nuggets themselves, I mean, it was a lot of their stars showed up. Aaron Gordon showed up when it mattered. Jamal Murray, doing his role as a star with 21 points, and then obviously you have arguably the MVP of the league in Nikola Jokic doing everything per usual, dropping 42 and 22. And speaking out a win, and not to mention Russell Westbrook, or now, sorry, Reed, but Russell Westbrook.
That title is definitely not his anymore, but okay.
I mean, he had 18.
He did have 18, but he was 1 for 5 from 3. And again, like I mentioned in the TikTok, if he hit his wide open 3 there at the end of the game, this game wouldn't have been so stressful.
Have we ever relied on Russ to hit a 3?
I was gonna say, I think with Russell Westbrook, I think you know what you get at this point. You get a little. You gotta live and die with Russell Westbrook's going to give you great intensity and great energy on the defensive side and go get boards, but you gotta live with the 40-footer from deep for no reason in transition.
But he was standing still. They got the rebound kicked out to him wide open. Right? If he took 3 3-pointers that game and made one of them and he missed that one, and I know 5 isn't that much of a stretch, but like if you're taking 5 shots, even if it's just a game, 5 3-pointers a game, and you're only hitting one of them, brother, I don't want you taking any. I don't want you taking any.
As hoopers, can we live by that though? If you got a great assister in Jokic, Jokic gives you a pass, and you just so happen to be wide open at that 3, you better take that shot. You gotta
shoot it.
You gotta take that shot.
I would rather have Russell Westbrook just dunk it on somebody.
He can't do that no more.
But if he's wide open,
he does that better than he does shooting a 3-pointer.
At this point, I don't know. I've seen him miss some dunks.
DJ, you're telling me if we're playing 5-on-5, right? Reed sends it up to me. I give you a beautiful dish to you in the corner, and you realize you're wide open. You're not shooting that 3.
I would hope
you're 6'3", Dirk Nowitzki, right, on a Walmart version in the post. Dirk Nowitzki was not a prolific 3-point shooter. So are you shooting? Are you shooting the 3-pointer if me and Reed give you a clean, crisp, wide open? The ball's perfectly set up, seams up, and you can shoot that if you just go down and shoot. But I know for a fact that you're a 15% 3-point shooter. I still want you to shoot the shot.
Me right now, I'm taking the shot.
Do you want me to take the shot?
No. Yes. Reed, you've been more consistent lately, but old Reed, I want Reed, his shoulders above the rim, lay it in. Just plop it down. I am more sure that ball's going to go in than that shot at that point, and that's what I want. Honest to God, I know underrated comment, but I don't know what 3-pointer he did hit, but he didn't hit the wide open one. By golly, and they would have used, and it was like they rebounded the ball. The OKC did. So, and with Nikola Jokic down there, if you can find the lane to go to the basket, I'd rather have that, honestly. But
I think for the Thunder, they're still such a young team. I mean, SGA had 33. I mean, 33. The rest of the team kind of didn't really help him out besides Alex Caruso with 20 off the bench. I mean, the starting lineup went Holmgren 12, Jalen Williams 16, Hartenstein 12, Lou Dort 14, SGA with 33, but he had a, plus minus of negative 16, and Lou Dort had a plus minus of negative 21. Like, if you're OKC, you kind of just like wipe this one kind of like clear from memory almost. And you just, like tonight, for instance, are currently up. Potentially, they're 6 points away from being up 40. So they're up 34, right? And you kind of just like live and go with that as you please, right, with this team. And I think the Thunder are significantly a much better team than Denver. But Denver just has the pedigree of championship level teams that I think the Thunder are going to approach and get to. But as of right now, I don't see that happening from that game one. That game one was a little bit of a crumble, but I think in this game two as it stands, they seem to be fine. I think the rest of the series is going to be fine too. I think OKC finds a way to still survive this series, even though that game one was a tough one.
No, I mean, if OKC sees the production from their starters like they are in this game, I mean, it's going to take Nikola Jokic 40-point, possibly 50-point masterpiece to keep the Nuggets in this series. Not that they don't have the people to do it. I mean, Russell Westbrook right now is the leading scorer in their, current demise. I mean, 84 points in the first half. That is insane. 84 points in the first half is absolutely bonkers. This game will end up being closer anyways, but but when it's halftime and you have 5 players in double figures, and you have 2 others 2 points away from double figures, I mean, there's not many teams in the NBA that can keep up with that type of consistency. But now it's, will they keep up with that consistency? Will they have that consistency? My answer is going to be no. I don't think they will have that for enough games to get through Denver.
Moving forward, Golden State, Minnesota. Golden State in game one wins 99-88, led by a surprising Buddy Hield kind of momentum going on right now. Buddy Hield with 24 led the team in points. Draymond with a vintage 18. Playoff Jimmy with 20. Steph Curry only had 13, but man, this guy is beat up. He's out for game 2 with a hamstring strain, timetable unknown. And not only that, he's dealing, have you guys seen the photo of his thumb that's like hanging on by like sheer willpower at this rate?
It's like it came out of crock pot.
Yeah, dude. Minnesota Timberwolves, Anthony Edwards, 23 points, led the team. Julius Randle, 18. Jaden McDaniels, 12. Naz Reid with 19, but like 0 points from Mike Conley, and he's in your starting lineup. Obviously, he didn't play most of the game. Dante DiVincenzo did most of the work. But again, if you're Minnesota, you kind of, again, I think Minnesota just kind of wipes this one away. Golden State's going to be without Steph, the primary like point guard, runs the whole offense runs through him. The guy that can go get a bucket. I mean, obviously he went out for part of the game, so you kind of feel like that's a missed opportunity. But this Warriors team isn't, I think getting Jimmy Butler has really elevated this team, especially in the playoffs. Is this the best iteration of Golden State we've ever seen? Absolutely not. But you lose Steph Curry, huge hit. But Jimmy can carry a team. We saw him do it with Miami for years, right? He willed them to the NBA Finals as an 8 seed, right? Draymond Green's going to get nitty and gritty. He's gonna tote the line but not get ejected. Buddy Hield seems to be in a revival stage right now, channeling some of them Oklahoma days and averaging close to 20-plus a game right now in the last several. And they have some depth, right, with Gary Payton and Looney and Kuminga. But Minnesota just has to play their game. I think the series will play out in their favor. They just got to play their game, right? I think they need a little bit more help from Gobert, but I think that you continue to play their game. Edwards is going to have Edwards is going to have a monster game at some point. So you just got to stay the course if you're Minnesota. I'm not going to overreact from a game one, but you being the younger team versus what we saw in game one, and they look sluggish, versus the Warriors team who's older looked like they wanted to get after it. So I think the juice needs to be changed for them, but I think that will come in time.
I'm looking at this Minnesota team, right? Their starting lineup went 1 for 13 in the entire game from 3 points, from 3-point land.
Yeah,
Right. Arguably, you got Gobert there. Conley didn't play a ton, but Edwards was 1 of 5. Right. He's the type of player that needs to elevate from star to superstar, right, in order to get through this series. Right? Based on Mr. Jacob Prale over there's logic, right? Never been to a NBA Finals. Didn't personally wield his team.
Conference. He said conference.
The reason why I don't elevate Donovan Mitchell is because Donovan Mitchell was never made out of the second round, DJ. Versus Anthony Edwards was close to knocking on the door of the NBA Finals a couple years ago.
Whatever you want, man. But this is how you elevate.
I'll tell you right now. Anthony Edwards would eat Donovan Mitchell for breakfast, lunch, and dinner on the basketball court. And you can argue with a wall.
We're doing it right now. This one question only. Would you rather Donovan Mitchell or Anthony Edwards?
I'm building my team around Donovan Mitchell. That's just my preference.
Sometimes there's a part of me that loses respect for you guys every time we do some of these shows.
I love Donovan Mitchell's play style.
Because, there's something where if I'm watching a game, sometimes I'm like, Anthony Edwards is a dog. He's he'll take anyone's lunch money. He's poking LeBron. He's poking KD. He'll fight your mom. He'll fight your grandmother. He'll fight everybody. Versus I got Donovan Mitchell dropping 48 but loses in the second round. And it's I'm Donovan Mitchell. Guess what? I'm really good at scoring the basketball, but you know what I'm not really good at doing? Reaching the finals in any conference at any point in my career. He hasn't reached the finals. Conference finals.
Neither is Anthony.
Conference. I said a finals in either conference that he's been in. So conference finals, NBA finals. Listen, I think if we put this out there, I think most people will take Anthony Edwards over Donovan Mitchell, and it's not even close. It's not even close.
The vote's not going to be close. I think the reality of the situation is a lot closer than what people think.
Breakfast, lunch, dinner, dessert, cherry on.
Nah, that's so much closer.
Ant's killer mentality is a lot more vocal. I think that's what makes him a lot more popular about it. But Donovan Mitchell, I'm not even going to say he's a silent killer. He gets out there and he's just as gritty, just as passionate on the court as Anthony Edwards. You just don't see it a lot.
You just don't wear it the same way. So I will probably go with Anthony Edwards, right? Especially now. Right?
I'm not dealing with this.
But
I'm not dealing with this.
But just to discard Donovan Mitchell like that is absolutely insane. He is a star. He is the number one on any team that you put him on. All of them. He is going to drop. He's going to take people's lunch money, right? But he's going to sneak it out of their backpack. He's not going to take it right out of their hand. He's going to do it sneakily. And that's what he's done his entire career. He's the only reason that the Utah Jazz made it to the playoffs when they went. He was obviously the star power of the Cavs in the Celtics series last year. Right. And then he got injured and they fell apart.
I will say I pulled up the stats from both games that Edwards and Mitchell played against each other. Game 1, Cleveland did win, but I believe they won in overtime. Darius Garland was in this game, and he had 29. Donovan Mitchell had, I believe what I read, 38, something like that.
Okay.
Anthony Edwards had 28.
Okay. Advantage Donovan.
The second time they played, Donovan Mitchell had 23, and Anthony Edwards had 44.
Okay, advantage Ant. At that point, by how many? It can't be more than 8 or 9.
Listen, I'm reading some of these. And
you read some of those stats. Who did Anthony Edwards have help from? You just tossed that Darius Garland stat in there.
I don't know if Donovan Mitchell is the primary defender for Anthony Edwards.
I don't care. I do not care.
I like
reading some of these
wingspan against anything.
I'm reading some of these point totals, and Anthony Edwards is a dog. I mean, since April, 34, 28, 37, 25, 44, 43, and he was the primary scorer. I'm telling you right now, argue with a wall. You guys are on this Donovan Mitchell like he's so underrated. He's so good. I don't care. I want winners. I want dogs. I want killers. And Anthony Edwards is that. He's proven it time after time. And what have I seen from Donovan Mitchell? Nada.
Okay. His last games 30, 30, 13, 22, 33, 48. Primary scorer.
Edwards or
Donovan
Mitchell?
Mitchell.
Can I jump back to the Warriors?
Hold
I'm
on.
excited to see Jimmy
No,
Butler.
not yet. I gotta pull up these point totals.
Points per game in his career. Let's see.
Nope.
20, 23, 24, 26, 25, 28, 26, 24.
These playoffs 22, 25, 29, 43, 15, 23 for Ant as of right now. Played in less games as well. Actually, no, more games. The amount of games, technically. Yeah, same amount.
Boy, Reed is just sitting there waiting.
Talk about the Golden State Warriors before the deal with D&J disbands over Donovan Mitchell discourse.
No, I'm just saying, I'm excited to see Jimmy Butler. He's been saying all season that he's been taking the back seat, playing his little Robin to Batman role. And I definitely think a lot of people may have forgotten that Heat run of what playoff Jimmy was all about. I think we'll definitely see that in these upcoming games while Stephen Curry recovers. So I definitely think we'll see Jimmy Butler have to take off his Robin suit and put on that Batman suit and play to that potential we know he has. So I'm excited to see that back on the court. Big dog Jimmy Butler.
Well, DJ, you want to do Would You Rathers here, so.
Yes.
Well, go ahead.
What? No, go ahead. What do you got to get? What do you got to get?
I was going to go get some water while you get it set up.
That's fine. You do all right. What you got in that cup, Reed?
This is just fruit punch. I'm not drinking freely right now. I'm only drinking at events.
There you go.
Social.
Let's see. How long has Ant been in the league? 9. Okay. So 2020, 2021. So you got 19 to 26, right? 21 to 25, 24 to 28, 25 to 26, and 27 to 24. It's closer than you think, Jacob.
I don't care. My eyes don't lie.
Eyes don't lie. That's funny. You just see more. It's because Donovan Mitchell's in 2 poor markets, is what it is.
Minnesota's a bad market.
Bad?
When's the last time anybody of relevancy has come out of Minnesota?
Jimmy Butler. Cat.
Okay, but that was because he went on the scout team and gave the starters buckets.
Jimmy
I was just
Butler.
gonna say Cat. Cat definitely. No, I wouldn't say Jimmy, but Cat definitely held
Now
it
we're
down
getting,
for a
now we're just getting disrespectful.
Was Jimmy there? Was Jimmy there the whole season? I don't know if Jimmy was there the whole season. Was he?
Yeah, he was.
He was?
Yeah, he was there for a couple.
In Minnesota?
Yeah, dude, he was there for like a season or two. Winnipeg
I guess
scored
they probably didn't do much, so I don't even know if did they even make the playoffs?
a couple times.
All right. So this segment is going to be Would You Rather, right?
Backhander over the blocker?
Which game are you watching, Jacob?
Winnipeg Stars. Winnipeg scores first with a backhander that hit off the post. Goalie overplayed the puck. Just missed it with the blocker. Kind of crazy. All right, I'm ready.
Okay. So this is going to be a Would You Rather segment, right? I'm going to give you some players, some of them high-key players, some of them a little bit more low-key. You're going to take them as they currently are, but healthy. All right? The first name up is going to be Kristaps Porzingis or Pascal Siakam.
That's terrible.
Can
Those
you
are two-
explain the rules one more time? Take them healthy?
They're
Like,
really
if they're
healthy,
both-
but like right now. So like Steph Curry's going to show up here. We're not
Yeah.
taking Steph
Not
Curry
their
with
prime.
a bum thumb.
Oh, okay. We're taking healthy current, not healthy prime.
Correct. Right now
Healthy
in the
current
playoffs, like
stuff.
in this.
Okay.
Yeah. So the first
so
name
we
up
got-
is going to be Pascal Siakam and Kristaps Porzingis.
God, those are two of the worst. We could have. That's who we're starting off with.
We're starting there because Kristaps and they both have very important roles on their team. Siakam's been a dog this year.
I was just about to say Siakam playing
Arguably the
his
most
role
underrated
for
role
the
player.
Pacers. I am taking current Siakam right now. Porzingis has been dog water for the Celtics these past couple games.
I agree. I am also taking Siakam. Jacob?
I have seen some great defensive plays from Siakam in the few Pacer basketball I've watched.
I think I would have to take Porzingis. Just the sheer fact, like, fully healthy Porzingis, I think he is dealing with something right now, but, like, fully healthy Porzingis, the 7'2" unicorn, defensively, he's really solid. And then if he can give you the buckets from inside the paint and outside the paint, I mean, it just gives teams fits and gives your team an extra boost. I'll take that over Siakam, even though Siakam plays a great game. I think I'll take the potential of KP and what that can benefit me versus Siakam.
No, because Siakam took that too, and I'm going to move on with him. Pascal Siakam or Draymond Green?
Can I have neither? Is that an option?
A defensive menace or Siakam?
I was gonna say, give me Dre.
I was going to say I would
Give
have to
me
go
Trey Ball
Draymond.
Dre. Trey Ball Dre. That was the best performance I've seen from Draymond in a while. I'll take Draymond.
Yeah, I'm going to go Draymond.
I'm going to go Draymond as well. I think his pure presence on the court is arguably enough just to keep him over Siakam.
He could already fight. He could already defend. Now he's adding the 3-ball back to to the game. I need him.
There you go.
Go
All
ahead,
right. Draymond Green or Tyrese Halliburton?
Tyrese.
These aren't even, like, comparable. It's Tyrese.
Okay. I'm taking
Are
that.
we getting
Yes,
spicy?
we're going to get there. We're going to get there. All right. Tyrese Halliburton or Jamal Murray?
Ooh, I like this one.
You just have to wait, Jacob. Your patience is 0. And you liked both
Well,
of the
when you
first
start
ones.
me off with Pascal Siakam and Kristaps Porzingis, I can't exactly get excited.
You know, but it made you think. Not everything's got to be exciting.
Yeah, it made me think if I want to continue to do this segment on next week's show. Ree's deep in thought over there. That boy's been looking at the ceiling for about 2 minutes.
Because I'm taking Tyrese because
I was gonna say I think Tyrese
the Pacers aren't touching the Cavs without Tyrese. Jokic and Aaron Gordon and Russ on a good night, they're winning a game against the Thunder. The Pacers are not touching, breathing next to the Cleveland Cavaliers without Tyrese.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm taking Tyrese.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Tyrese as well. I like his impact on the Pacers more than I liked Murray's on the Nuggets. Are we taking Tyrese Halliburton or are we taking Darius Garland?
Tyrese is such an impactful player for that basketball team, for that Indiana Pacers. He needs to get out of this would you rather. We need to swap him out.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna stay with Tyrese.
I have to stay with Tyrese as well.
As much as I want to say Darius Garland has the same level of impact for Cleveland, it's not because obviously Donovan Mitchell's in the fold. But we can see this Cleveland team hasn't been the same since Garland has been injured in terms of consistency points-wise. But Halliburton, I think defensively, passing the ball, scoring the ball right now is just too hard to bypass over Darius Garland.
I'm going to take Darius Garland. I think his impact when he's healthy takes a lot of the pressure off of Donovan, and Donovan does his job under pressure. But I think Darius, when he's healthy, pushes his team past that point, and it really leaves no doubt in it for Cleveland. But Tyrese Halliburton or Jaylen Brown?
Jaylen Brown. I don't think that one's particularly close.
Yeah.
I was hoping you were going to say Tyrese or Anthony Edwards. Hopefully not to spoil the next one, but I was like, that would be a better argument. I got to go with, I'm staying with Tyrese. I'm staying with Tyrese only because of that depth that the Celtics has over there.
I'm going with Brown. I think he just is, in general, the more impactful player when he hits his buckets. We're not necessarily starting, a team around these players, right? But when Jaylen Brown hits his shots, I think he's just an unstoppable human being.
You're talking about depth? The Pacers roll 11 deep. What are we talking about depth?
I just don't see anybody playing the way. What's that guy's? What's his name? McConnell?
Yeah, that's one of them.
he's the closest to Halliburton you're gonna get when it comes to dishing the ball on that team. I don't like Nembhard sometimes with his playmaking skills. And I'm trying to think who else they got coming off the bench as a point guard, like as a playmaker.
Matherin, who had 19 shooting guard.
How many assists did he have?
I don't care about his assists.
I do. I love Tyrese Halliburton when he only gives me, 11 to 15 points, but then I look and I see 13 assists, 0 turnovers. We can't beat that.
Tyrese didn't even lead the team in assists on Tuesday.
I'm just saying. There are those
Nembhard.
games where he does. I'm just saying. There are
Matherin technically had one assist,
Halliburton.
but
Yeah, one assist.
Halliburton had 4.
Uh-huh. Hey, man. That one game. I've seen more games where I see Halliburton. We're talking about 17, 18, 19, 20 assists. 1, 2, 3 turnovers. Sometimes 0. So
Okay. So this is going to be a little bit more of one that Jacob doesn't like, but Jaylen Brown or Karl Anthony Towns, different roles.
I'll speak first. I'll take Karl. The way he has propelled these Knicks. Because without, what was that, Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson was good defender, but like you said, not explosive on the offensive side of the ball. Karl Anthony Towns went to the Knicks, and he was already becoming of a superstar potential. I definitely think his season with the Knicks, he has become a superstar in a team that's potentially has 2 with Jalen Brunson.
We're throwing this word superstar around like it's
That man right there, man.
the town bicycle. Like everybody's a superstar. Like is Nembhard? Like what are we talking about, bro? I'm gonna crash out. What are we talking about? Karl Anthony Towns is a superstar.
Is he not?
Bro, man drives in, he's throwing up his hands like, whoa, watch out,
Oh
brother.
my! So we're getting a picture. We're taking a picture out of context.
No. Listen, Karl Anthony Towns is great. He's a star. But he's not a superstar. He tried to be that in Minnesota, and he got traded. He couldn't be the one. He couldn't even be Robin.
So can
This
can you
man
not
is
become-
Aquaman on the Justice League right now. He is Hawkeye on the Avengers. He serves a purpose. He is solid. He does his job wonderful. Is he accurate? Sometimes. But, like, he's not Captain America. He's not Iron Man. He's not running the ship.
Mm.
We're throwing out superstar. At this rate, I'm a superstar for being a phenomenal host of this podcast.
Can we say Cat?
Host.
Can we say Cat is Thor though?
No, I'm taking the host right now. You're pissing me off, DJ. You're pissing me off. I got recording abilities. You're pissing me off. We're sitting here being superstar. Superstar is an elite club meant for the best of the best. Karl Anthony Towns is not the best of the best. He's a top 50 player at most.
Can we superstar by position?
No.
Okay then. Well, there you go. Not on this show. I'm just a guest, so I'll say no more. I don't have many rights in here.
All right, Jacob, who you taking?
Whoa,
Cat or-
whoa. We can't be. Whoa. Let's not be saying that on this show. Whoa. All I'm saying, optics not looking too good on YouTube when you say that, my man.
Man,
I'm taking Jaylen Brown.
I'm taking Cat. I think his role on the court is too. His role on the court for the Knicks is more valuable than Jaylen Brown's role for the Celtics.
Jaylen Brown literally is the second guy on the team besides Tatum. And Tatum, they're literally 1A, 1B.
Okay, but then you've
Are
got
you forgetting-
2A and 2B in the role players. Cat is more impactful on the Knicks than Jaylen Brown is on the Celtics.
So if we did this in 2016, 2017, we're putting Matthew Dellavedova like as one of the best players because of his role on the team.
Comparatively,
came in.
yes.
I could have came in and played his role, so we're not gonna say his role was.
Oh, but he shut down Curry for a game, and he had like 15 and 18. He was shooting the ball.
A game. If
Corey,
they've got more players they can delve into if Jaylen Brown's off. They got Tatum for one, right? You got Brunson on the other hand, but when you dive into other people, Who are you taking? You
Cat
said
had
it yourself in the last game. The only matchup, you said there was not a matchup that you would take Boston or the Knicks over Boston. You took every matchup. Every matchup. The only matchup I didn't take was Cat. Cat is the
over Horford.
standout over Porzingis. So
Who
Cat
Cat
started?
Cat
is the
Who started?
standout
Did
performer.
Porzingis start?
he did in game
He
one,
did.
but did not in
Yeah.
game two.
Okay, that's the
I'm
confusion.
taking.
Anthony, all I'm gonna say is Karl Anthony Towns in game one was the fourth leading scorer on the Knicks versus Jaylen Brown was tied for the leading scorer on the Celtics.
With what, 23?
20 had 14.
Okay, what is the rebound? Rolls. I'm taking Cat.
Jaylen Brown's job is not to rebound. He had 7 rebounds versus Karl Anthony Towns 13. They play 2 different positions.
Right, roll. But I am taking Cat. I'm sorry. Cat has more
Which
responsibility.
role do you
Cat
need
has
more?
more responsibility and does it again really, really well than Jaylen Brown does. I'm taking Cat. I'm taking Cat. I don't care. Karl Anthony Towns or Donovan Mitchell. Should be pretty easy. But
Out of freaking spite, I'm taking Karl Anthony Towns, you losers.
You already know who I got. I don't know why you asked this one.
all
And I
right,
already know who you got. So Donovan Mitchell versus who?
Donovan Mitchell or Jalen Brunson.
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 I need Mr. Clutch himself. I
Really?
need Mr. Clutch himself. That's
Wow. See, I think if you take Donovan off, I'm going to take Donovan. I mean, even though that we're going to move on with Brunson, but if you take Donovan off this Cavs team, they are nothing. Not sure as heck not off.
Take Brunson off this Knicks team and they're nothing.
I guess
the
you're
Knicks are
talking about the
definitely
better.
The
They're
Cavs
headless
have
chicken.
Garland. And they have
hasn't
Mobley
been
and
proven to be a
Allen.
number
Like,
one.
I will say Jalen. All these other people on the Knicks are good at their roles. I don't know if their roles exist without Jalen Brunson on that court, though. They all play like even Cat stretching that floor is to open up ways for Jalen Brunson to drive and kick or stop and pop at the elbow. Like that whole game around the Knicks, just like Curry's offense with the Warriors, it revolves around Jalen
I think
Brunson.
another thing too is like if you take Mitchell out, the Cavs are still pretty much rolling as a pretty smooth, oiled machine. If you take Brunson out, you might as well have put no oil in the car. Like that's the level of difference between those two guys in terms of if we're talking about what they mean to their team. That is exactly what that means. Take Donovan Mitchell out. If the Cavs are fully healthy, which is what you asked us to do here,
Right.
the full ensemble of Hunter, Mobley, and Garland,
And
and you
Allen.
take Mitchell out, that team is still running pretty smooth. Are they going to average maybe 5, maybe 7 points less per game? Sure. But they're still going to win by the same margins.
All right, I've been convinced. I'll go Brunson.
Way to really stay with your guy there.
No, I mean you're right. Your argument was great. You can't put up a good argument to make me change my mind, Jacob. Why do you think so poorly of yourself?
I think poorly of you.
Wow.
That's not nice. Jalen Brunson, Jason Tatum.
Ooh, I like this one.
I mean, it should be pretty obvious
it.
given your argument about no oil in the car.
I mean, yeah, if I'm talking about no oil in the car, I mean, the thing is, Boston is so much better with Tatum than they are without him. Like, they're so much better with Tatum. Like, if Brown is out, it's not nearly, like, as big of an issue versus you don't have Tatum. Like, that's a pretty drastic loss, in my opinion. So with that logic, I'm going to take Tatum, but I mean, if I'm going off both logic, I mean, Brunson's pretty close, but I think Tatum with Boston is a lot more significant.
I'm staying with Brunson.
I'm going to stay with Brunson as well. Again, I think Boston has.
He just said it was a very close margin. Very close.
You get him,
Butts
Reed.
his head against the mic.
I'm going with Brunson. You can't sway me of my decision making with the Mitchell and then me not apply that same logic that you just used to sway me the other way. To take.
But I literally just said that Tatum is more detrimental
I don't think so.
Why?
Bring up a stats of Boston's record with and without.
Ooh, that might be tough to find. Boston. You do that. I'll do that. You pull up Jalen Brunson's with the Knicks. Listen, I'm not trying to look up.
New York Knicks record without.
Are you just doing for this season?
We doing this season or all time?
I mean, I guess
Keep it-
we could do this season because
Yeah, just keep that this
I mean
season.
they've not been on the same team for the same length of time. Correct.
Well, then these numbers are going to be.
been on the Knicks.
Let's do all time because these numbers. You got to think these numbers are going to be skewed because
Okay.
when Tatum
all-time.
doesn't play, like Boston's 8-2 without Tatum this year, but the 8 wins came against Portland, Utah, Brooklyn, Phoenix, the Wizards, and Charlotte, who are all in the lottery, and 2 against
I don't-
Detroit. 2 losses, ironically, were to the Magic this season without Tatum.
The New York Knicks had an 0-6 record without Jalen Brunson this season.
Who were those opponents?
The Clippers, Golden State,
So
San
legit.
Antonio, Charlotte, Clippers, Cleveland,
So all legit teams.
except for the Hornets.
Charlotte. Yeah.
Yeah. And
So
well,
it's about
and
the
Spurs.
same.
So two.
It's about the same. Because Brunson in the games that they won that he was not in, it was Utah, Sacramento, Portland, Miami, Washington, Dallas, Milwaukee, Portland, Philly, Atlanta, Brooklyn. Pretty much every team except Milwaukee is in the lottery.
Right.
So I think they're both equally, not even equally. I think those are just bad numbers to use because they get pulled against bad teams.
I'm taking Brunson, and I'm not upset about it. You can go cry. I don't care. Jalen Brunson or Steph Curry.
I swear to God, if you guys say Jalen Brunson over Steph Curry, I'm walking off. I'm going to
I'm
walk
taking
off.
Steph Curry. Ain't no shot. I'm taking Brunson over Curry. No shot. Golden State is nothing, regardless. Without Steph Curry, they're better off now than they have been in past with Butler and I'm forgetting his
Buddy here.
Buddy Hield. Yeah, but it's so to me it's clearly Steph Curry. Playoff Steph is different too.
I'll say Steph to keep the show going.
It was gonna continue without because me and DJ already voted Steph, but I think I was gonna. I was really
Steph.
All right, Steph Curry or Anthony Edwards.
much as I want Ant to be the legend killer, until he kills Curry, I'm gonna take.
Going with
Ooh. So my logic, like I don't think Minnesota gets anywhere without Edwards, right? And that's what pulls me towards him. But knowing what Steph has and can do in the playoffs is not an option for me not to take him, right? Anthony Edwards is going to get there, right? There will be a time, I believe in Anthony Edwards' future, that I would take him over Curry. But like Jacob said, it hasn't happened yet. So I'm going to take Curry over Edwards. Curry or Shea Gilgeous-Alexander?
I don't like SGA. Of personal bias, which I probably shouldn't do on a sports show. Of personal bias, I'm taking Stephen.
But I love personal bias.
I'm taking Stephen Curry. I don't like the foul.
Why don't you
thing.
like
I don't
counterpoint
the
that free throw merchant? Free
foul.
throw merchant.
That literally, for a while, is why I hated Trae Young.
That's why I
can't
hated
stand.
James Harden.
James too. Houston
I
Rockets. James.
think we're taking them at their current iteration, right? Fully healthy. God, I mean, Steph's still giving people the business.
Mm-hmm.
Fully healthy. Yeah, I think I'll take Steph Curry fully healthy.
Okay.
We're
I'm
saying we're
gonna
taking
agree.
away his bad ankle.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm taking Steph Curry. I think he plays gingerly because of that now. Because of his ankles, I think is what causes
That boy's
maybe
definitely
those
got to have some shin
strains.
splints.
Yeah, I'm just saying like those strains in your legs, like yeah, hey, run around being gingerly in your ankles is definitely going to affect the rest of your legs. So he's definitely had his fair share of calf and hamstring strains like over these past couple seasons.
All right. And then to wrap it up, as Steph just swept, Steph Curry or Nikola Jokic?
Jokic, that generational player that is Nikola Jokic.
Yeah. Everything Curry
Run
does,
bust.
like Jokic does it. I'm not going to say that much better because of the 3-point shooting thing, but the passing, I mean, Jokic, I've never seen anybody pass like Jokic. Never. I think he sees the court so well. I think it's Jokic.
I'm going to take Jokic as well. I think just the unstoppable force that he is and what he can do, all three phases of the game, shoot, pass, rebound, all of it's there. I don't think that anybody really, with the exception of maybe LeBron, can, do what he can to the effectiveness. And Jokic is arguably, I don't know about statistically, but at least from the eyesight, is probably a better 3-point shooter than he is as well. So with
than
that being
LeBron.
said, yeah. Is there any player currently in the playoffs that you guys would take over Nikola Jokic that I did not mention? Or maybe that I did mention. I can't think of one. I think Jokic is the number one player in these playoffs. He is the glue that holds that Nuggets team together, and I don't know that there's a player in these playoffs that does as much as he does. And sure as heck not to the efficiency that he does.
Yeah, I don't see anybody. I think the only
that's
guy.
crazy.
I don't know if the only guy. I don't know, man. I feel like the only guy that could touch him is maybe SGA, but I don't see that happening in these playoffs.
Fair enough.
But you give me Naz Reid off the bench though in a game 6. It's a different conversation we're talking about.
All right. That was it for the Would You Rather series. And update on the OKC Nuggets game. They are still down 30.
Yes. And the Thunder's 87 points was a playoff record for points in the first half.
Absolutely. They haven't slowed down either, which is extremely scary part. Extremely scary.
Sidebar, I'm watching the NHL playoffs here. Mikko Rantanen in the last 4 games is having a generational run. He's had in 4 games 14 points. To put that in NBA terms, is he's basically Nikola Jokic right now. Basically Nikola Jokic. In Game 7 against Colorado, he had a hat trick in the third period by himself and won them the game. And then had an assist on the game-winning goal. So, sidebar. And that was talking hockey.
There you go. Is there anything big in the hockey that we need updated on by Friday?
Toronto is a different team than what we're used to. I feel like the Toronto team of past, if we're for viewers' perspective, was like the Boston Celtics of couldn't get to the finals, but this team had all the talent. They've been one of the best teams for the last couple of years, but they get bounced in the second they haven't made it to anything in a while. Same with this Boston team. But Toronto's currently up 2-0 on the Panthers right now, and it's different because Florida was a phenomenal team last year. And Toronto, just every punch Florida throws, Toronto has an answer, which I haven't seen from a Toronto team ever. So I'm a little surprised by this team. I think this team is legitimately dangerous. The Western Conference is an absolute war of attrition. We talked about before we jumped on, that I wasn't going to talk about the Blues Winnipeg game because of the heartbreak that I went through, but that game was a game 7. And now they're playing tonight against the Stars, who are also in game 7 against the Avalanche. Edmonton had 4 straight games of 3 of those games, I think they had to come back from behind and win against LA. And then Vegas had to go battle with Minnesota in 6 games, which they had no business being in. So the West is just a war of attrition right now. In the Eastern Conference, I don't see it. I think Toronto or Florida will get to the Cup because I don't think Washington has good goaltending, but that's a sidebar for another day. But basically, Toronto right now is feeling like the Boston Celtics and feels a little bit like a team of destiny. So that's a little scary. Because I like the storyline of Toronto choking. And currently, Toronto is the oldest NHL franchise to not. They have the longest drought in all of sports in between championships right now. I think it's now 65 years Their last win for a Stanley Cup was 1962, 65.
Wow,
So
impressive stuff.
that was talking hockey.
There you go.
Well, I have been Jacob Pearl. He has been DJ McCatherine. He has been Ree. I guess come back next week and see if the show is still alive after this very contentious Would You Rather talking basketball that made me walk off the show literally for 30 seconds.
Yeah, DJ had to bring the thunder. Had to make it interesting for,
I hope you get steamrolled in the comments. I really hope that, like, when we cut some of these up, I hope you get absolutely steamrolled. Steamrolled. Because some of these, like taking Karl Anthony Towns over Jalen Brunson is one of the most absurd things I've ever heard in my life.
Jaylen Brown.
That's what I said.
You said Brunson.
Jaylen Brown, my bad. Same
Jake was
difference.
going to be in the comments,
Anyways.
Rob, on his burner.
I will be on our own.
Jacob Burner is going to be in there.
I'll be on our own TikTok commenting that DJ doesn't know ball on the DJ post.
Man.
Like, comment, share, subscribe, follow us on all platforms: YouTube, Instagram, X, TikTok. Know where to find us. We have been The Deal with D and J.